With the new Nest Hub just coming out, there are many new features that are specific to that device as well as specific to your Google Smart displays. But there are also a number of new devices coming out from Google. When you go and look at the FCC listings for these new products, well, it looks like the first one is a Nest camera. And that's actually what a lot of the big news outlets are reporting as of now. They're saying there's a new Nest camera coming, and I actually predicted that there would be new Nest cameras in 2021, and I still think that's the case. But there is more to the story here than I think just a Nest camera. When you look at the Wi-Fi frequencies that are being used, yep, you've got 2.4 and 5 gigahertz frequencies there, but when you dig into the details of the tests being submitted, what you'll actually see at that 5 gigahertz is only 802.11a and 802.11n. So there's no Wi-Fi 5 and there's no Wi-Fi 6 on a brand new Nest camera. Plus, there's another detail here that just seems different than what I would expect out of a Nest camera. There is actually a rechargeable lithium polymer battery on board, providing power at 3.65 volts DC. So I'll give you two options here. One is a new Nest Hello, because that wouldn't have to stream all the time. And number two, it's an entirely new class of device. Hello Automators, thanks for tuning in again. I'm Brian from Automate Your Life, and today I'm going to take the frustration out of automation by keeping you up to date. And in this case, it's going to be telling you what I actually think those devices are, with a little extra legwork here in reading some of the things like the reports at the FCC. And there's actually another reason I think this could be a Nest Hello camera, and this is somebody else who does pretty good work. And I follow Abner Lee over at 9 to 5 Google pretty religiously. The guy's pretty in tune with what's going on over at Google, and so there are a lot of cases that I'm just happy he's put together some details. And one of the more recent details that he put together comes from an APK, and it actually he actually managed to find a photo of what appears to be a new Nest Hello doorbell. I'd like to give some additional insight here as to why I think that it's possible this could be an entirely different class of device. Here is the frequency range and power output submission. You can see those power outputs are pretty low. Now, here is the Nest Mini by comparison, and you can see those power outputs are very high, and there's a lot of different frequency ranges. But the old Nest Cam IQ mentions 802.11 A, B, G, N, and AC all throughout the testing that was submitted, while this new device only shows A and N throughout its testing. So I'd love to hear what you guys think this new device could be. Now, I did say a few devices, and it looks like we're going to get a new version of Pixel Buds. Sounds like the name will be Pixel Buds A. It will just come in two colors, which is a little bit surprising for Google these days. And it just looks like they're only communicating on Bluetooth. So that I would kind of hoped there would be a little bit more there to chew on, but that's all the details we have right now. Here is the wildest piece of hardware that I think we'll get from Google in 2021, and actually I kind of hope that I'm proven wrong in that statement. What this explains for me is we haven't seen big shifts in terms of the hardware or the design of the Pixel phones here in a number of generations. And when you just move all the way up from a 3 to a 5 right now, there's changes, there's 5G, there's changes in some of the hardware, it's faster, etc. But it wasn't breathtaking or groundbreaking stuff that we had coming to those devices. And I think that's because of what Google's CEO said earlier this year. I think actually late in 2020, he said, we've been working on hardware for 3 years here, and we're gonna come out with some pretty incredible stuff. What I think he was alluding to is brand new Google Silicone. And what I mean by that is in the Pixel 6, this will be Google's own system on a chip, SoC. I know I said that wrong in a recent video, and a number of you told me, thank you for telling me. But that new SoC is being called Whitechapel. There will be a number of benefits from this, but I think what we're going to see is that the Pixel 6 will move a little bit up in terms of where it fits in terms of processing speed in the market. It's going to move from kind of being right in the thick of things in the middle to mid to upper processing capability. Plus, this is Google's own hardware, and I think when you combine that with their software teams and the fact that they will no longer have to wait for a company like Qualcomm to put out security patches and device firmware updates, that Google will be able to take this kind of a system much further. Now here's something for you Samsung folks. I know it's a little weird to update in a Google video, but it sounds like Samsung co-developed this and will be using this to replace some of their processors. So this would explain a lot of the partnership going on between Google and Samsung in other areas of the business, and it could be really interesting to see these two companies partner so closely on Android and on processors. The new Google Nest Hub is obviously pretty big news, and we did a huge seriously a huge setup video that is available for those of you who have any smart display, because honestly, we took every component of this system and we packed it into one video. It's a huge resource for you. It's all full of time code, so please use that video, use that resource, share it with your friends, and get everybody working on your smart displays. There's one feature that's totally specific to this new Nest Hub, and you will have to get the second generation device in order to get sleep sensing. Now, there's actually a lot to sleep sensing, and what you do is you put this device on your bedside table, and there's some restrictions to where it can sit. But when you get it all set up and you run through the 90-second calibration, what will happen is it will start tracking whenever you're sleeping in bed, and it'll start to give you data. In the morning, you can ask how you slept last night, and there's even a wellness section now on the smart displays that you can go into and do quick taps to find out different aspects for how you slept. Plus, the display interface itself, when you ask how you slept, there's some details. You can go in a little bit deeper, and over time, you're going to get recommendations from this service. Now, lots of the data ends up in Google Fit, and this becomes something you actually have to set up as part of this device's setup, at least for the sleep sensing component here. So that becomes a critical aspect, although you do have some choice over things like snoring and coughing ending up in Google Fit. You can just not measure that on this device and therefore not have it go into Google Fit. But the other thing that happens here is you are integrating with that Google Fit service. And what I have instantly found as I sit here in my Fitbit watch is that these other sleep trackers, they can impact how this device reports. And so this is something you actually want to think about before you integrate other data into Google Fit with this device, at least right now. Now, this is something I told Google about instantly as soon as it happened to me, but I'm not getting that display every day reliably from this device when I ask how I slept last night. How was my sleep last night?
You slept 7 hours and 37 minutes.
The other new feature is gestures, and you have to set this up as part of the initial setup, or you can use that pull-up menu in order to get to turning on gestures. Now, gestures is working really well with Soli here. It's a big improvement over the Nest Hub Max, what we saw with that device, and I think that a lot of you will find this really useful, especially when a lot of speakers are playing and you just want to start and stop that music. Speaking of starting and stopping music, well, the new Nest Hub has a bigger speaker, a better speaker. It does sound more rounded, and we've done comparisons in our review video. But the other thing that has come with that is a new music control interface. So when you hit the cast button at the bottom of any of your music services playing, you're going to get a bit of an updated design. This has shown up for me on other smart displays as well already, and of course I can adjust the volume, I can add and subtract speakers as I see fit, But maybe the best portion of this new interface is down at the bottom. I get the groups that this speaker or this smart display has been added to that I can quick pick to get those speakers playing. And that was all well and good, but I think we're seeing the very starts of what will be a very important feature on these smart displays, because what I actually see there is the ability to add a Bluetooth speaker on the display. So it's just a quick tap button, and in pure Google fashion, it's not working just yet. But if we have this ability to pair Bluetooth speakers on display, it would actually catch the smart displays from Google up to Amazon, which can do this. One of the things I've found myself doing is taking a lot of pictures with my Pixel phone and then having those pictures automatically upload to Google Photos. And by the way, Pixel owners, you did get an update about unlimited photos kind of staying on those devices. So this is a reason for you to look at Pixel phones specifically in terms of photo storage. So then once I've taken these pictures and they've uploaded to Google Photos, I'll stick them into albums at certain times or as I see fit. And this allows me to put them on the photo frame on my Google Nest Hub and all my smart displays. But then every once in a while, I'll just see one kind of rotate through and I'll go, you know what? My mom would really like that photo. And so I've shown you guys in the past how you can ask to share a photo, or now what you have to do is actually hold or long touch on these displays in order to bring up the little share photo interface. And what Google actually dropped on us in a piece of marketing that I'm guessing most people have missed is a bulk photo sharing capability. And I can't show you this one specifically just yet because I don't have it, but this is coming, and this would allow you to send multiple photos at one time from your smart display. Now, whenever I'm filming videos, I'm putting a clock display on this device, and that's because I don't necessarily want to put thousands of videos and photos up of my kid on the internet. Now, that fact has led me to running into a number of new clock faces that are available on the smart displays. And I think the one that most of you will look at is the weather version, and that's because it has the weather right on it and you can see that instantly. But there is one thing that disappeared from the photo frame feature, and that's actually the Facebook and the Flickr integration. This was part of an experimental segment that you had inside of the application. That is now gone. So unfortunately, they've kind of left Amazon and their smart displays to have Facebook photo integration, and I don't know why. As I was working on that huge setup video for the new Nest Hub, I ran into a feature that had been significantly improved. Now, what you can do with this is to cast a number of things from your smartphone or your tablet on your Google Smart displays. And again, this has been available for a while, but it is much improved now. The connectivity, the reliability of it, and just how it displays is a lot better right now. So go try out the Cast My Screen function. Now, the way you do this is actually through the device settings. So you go into the Google Home app, you go down to your smart display, you go into the device settings, and right there where you would normally control your volume is the ability to cast my screen. And as I said, it is reliable, it's staying connected, and it was very good for a very long time for me. Plus, I was able to try this on other smart displays and it's totally working now. So this is a great new capability that allowed me to cast YouTube videos directly. And yeah, I'm sorry guys, you're not going to be able to cast things like Disney Plus or Netflix to the displays. Those kinds of services are copyright protected, and sorry. And speaking of Disney Plus, do not unlink your account like I did. And I worked through this with Google support. They were nice enough to try and support me through this, but it's a Disney problem. It's on their side of the fence, but I think the new profiles over on Disney Plus, once you've unlinked them, they're not working right now for getting that service relinked. So don't unlink it right now, just accept how it is, and I'll try and let you know when it's working again for me. As someone who's had Nest Wi-Fi for a very long time, I have been watching the development and the integration of that whole platform into Google Home with a lot of interest. And there's been a couple of new features here, a number of new updates. The first one is that you're getting these real-time graphs inside of the Wi-Fi segment of the Google Home application. That's great to see, and I can get some data usage charts for 1, 7, and 30-day timelines. The other update could be a bit of a frustrating one for those of you who like the details in the Google Wi-Fi application, because you can do some extra troubleshooting there, some more in-depth stuff. It's not a ton anymore, but there are some functions there for maybe between a couple of your Wi-Fi points. You might want some data there, but you know what? That Google Wi-Fi application is going away at this point, and you will be forced to use the Google Home application. As the Works with Nest program was announced to be ending, and then we saw the program ending, and we saw the destruction of all of these integrations, you know what? I've been really happy as of late. We saw Samsung and Smartthings kind of get back integrated with Nest devices, and we've had Amazon's voice assistant for quite a while actually now. So those have been great to get back, but Brilliant is the latest one to get their Nest integration working. So you can now control those thermostats on your Nest or your Brilliant, those big old switches. This is one, sadly, I can't show you because it is actually US specific, and that's because of the types of content that we're talking about here. Now, what's gone on is a new, more automated news feature for those of you in the US, and hopefully we'll see this roll out to other countries. And what's happening when you go into the Google Assistant, you scroll down to news and you go in there, and then you scroll down to the bottom, you're going to see an option to change how the actual news feed works. What you'll be able to do is favorite a number of sources, and you can actually break it down by kind of more international news or local news. When you do this, then Google is going to put together kind of this automated news feed. And what's really interesting about this new feature is they will actually go and grab web articles and read them through the Google Assistant feature that we've seen in the past here, or that I've shown in the past, where they can actually have the Google Assistant sit there and read articles back to you. So it can do that, plus it can give you all these different types of news from these different news sources. One of the things I'm finding with these news videos is sometimes we're going in too in-depth on too many topics. So I'm going to start kind of a rapid fire aspect of these videos, and we're just going to roll through a lot of updates, starting with the new Chromecast. A while ago, I said that the menu up at the top of the Chromecast was going to change, and actually those words were going to get smaller, but Google reversed just in the last few days and actually will not make the text at the top smaller. The kids' profiles are now rolling out en masse, and I was given the option very recently to go and set one of those up. It looks like the Google TV application will take over for the Android TV application in terms of controlling those Chromecasts when not using a remote. Although it remains to be seen how they're going to do that with folks outside of the US. IMDb, Paramount Plus, and Amazon Music have all been added to Chromecast, and even Paramount Plus, if you're in the US, you can add that through the Google Home app as a new video service. And a couple of bugs have been sorted out actually from different app makers. Disney with Dolby Atmos and HBO Max playing out of 5.1 speakers, although that fix is just you can reboot the app, which would be kind of annoying in the middle of a show. There's another big feature coming to the Google Assistant, and I think this is going to come to the Google Smart Displays as well as the speakers, but initially it looks to be a Google Assistant feature. And actually, I showed part of this in our very recent video where I was helping you to remember everything with your Google Assistant. And what I showed was that you could ask the Google Assistant to remember your bike lock combination, for example, and then it would store that, and you could ask what your bike lock combination was at any time on your phone, on your smart display, whatever you'd like with the Google Assistant on board. But that feature will seriously expand, and what's going to happen here is you're going to get a service that kind of acts like Pinterest, plus it acts like that basic memory, and it can capture real things in your life like Evernote used to do for you. Actually, maybe Evernote still does that, but I don't use it anymore because it's not integrated with things like this. Now, this is going to be called Google Assistant Memory. And like I said, you can save links, so it acts a lot like Pinterest. Plus, you can save those basic thoughts or those things you need to remember on a regular basis within this whole package. Then there is the ability to save real world things, and this is going to integrate things like your camera. So you'll take a picture of something you'd like to save and save that in Google Assistant Memory. And of course, we're going to get a big search component and organization here around this whole feature. Now, this is something that is still well behind the scenes and has not come out, but I'm pretty excited for this feature. And I was so excited when I heard about it and when I saw the very basis of it that I created a video that helps you remember anything with your Google Home products. So go check out that video. You won't believe all of these little tricks that you can do with this. It will remember anything you could need. Otherwise, thanks for watching today. And of course, don't hate, automate.